Hi guys, sorry it's been a long while since I've done a tutorial, but today we're going to be making this, which is kind of a gooey sort of venomy kind of thing. As you can see, we've got like an inner and an outer. We've got like this kind of goo on the floor and sort of goo on the inside, and it's all kind of moving around in a kind of funky, organic kind of way. So let's get going. It's a fun little one to do. So, first things first, let's just create a floor, and I'm going to pull this down. And again, I am sorry guys for not having been around for a long while. It has been a little bit difficult here, as I'm sure it's been for lots of you. So I've had to sort of prioritise work a bit, and work isn't the easiest at the moment in the current environment. So, but anyway, we've got a floor, and I'm just going to create a little sphere, and I'm just going to delete the bottom half of this sphere, and I'm just going to use like a cup, which is how I did the other one. So I'm going to do this one. Let's just move it around a bit. I'm not going to win any awards for our animation on this, and back there a bit, and maybe for this animation that will do. So we're just going to call that emit, and I'm just going to bring that into the graph. So we've got floor, that, and this whole thing is made with particles. So I'm just going to type in particles, or start typing in particles, and we can see we've got a basic particles graph. So it's going to be nice and easy. And we're going to explode this and get our particles there. So first things first, let's stick in the floor to the collider, the emitter into the geometry section here, and we're going to the collider, and I'm just going to change some settings here quickly. I'm going to put normal 0 in there for the detail size of the collider, bounciness off, friction at 1.8. These are just some settings I used earlier previously. I'm not going to plug it all in yet. We're going to change a few things on here. So it doesn't need many particles at all to create this effect. I'm talking like, you want to put in number 4 here. Seriously, that's all we kind of are going to need. The speed, I'll stick that down, and I'm going to stick normal speed down. And the bounciness is going to be on 0, and live forever is going to be on. In the particle solver settings itself, I'm going to have self collisions on. Spin on collision, I am going to have that on 0.8. Viscosity, so I'm going to have that at 20, and that's just going to make the particles kind of gel together a bit more. For now, that is that. So if I just connect it up and we rewind and play, we should have some particles doing that. But they haven't actually got much movement in them at the moment, so we're going to stick in a turbulence node. Turbulence influence, and we're going to stick that into the influences over here, and turn the turbulence itself up to about 25 and a frequency of about 3. And you know, you can play with all of these settings yourself to see if you get, you know, kind of a more pleasing look. So they're starting to move around a bit, go a bit crazy. I mean, they're not exactly interesting. I want them to look a bit, I kind of want them to look a bit freakish, really. Just start doing some freaky kind of stuff. Which they're not really. So let's have a look at what we've got going on. How harsh was that friction? It's not too bad. Speed, inherent velocity, bounciness, age. Well, let's just crank up the turbulence a bit. Stick it into 30, and yeah, let's play that. A little bit too subdued, so a bit more turbulence. More turbulence. There we go. They're starting to do something they shouldn't be doing, which is exactly what I want. Right, okay, so particles, and you guys, I should just quickly say that you need a couple of compound packs. You should, basically, if you use Bifrost, really and truly you should have this Rebel pack installed, the latest version, and I highly recommend, especially for this tutorial, MJCG compounds from Maxime. All of these you can find on the area, and yeah, that's all you're going to need for this. So the first thing we're going to do is to get those kind of lines coming off the back of the particles. So we're just going to stick in the word trails here, and we're going to get particle trails. We are going to plug that into there, plug that into there, plug that into there, and we're going to get some trails coming off the back of this. They're not going to look like much at the moment, and it's going to be a little problem, so I'll just talk you through that. So there are the trails, but I don't know if you can see that these trails are pulling back to the centre of world space, and that's to do with the particle IDs. Each particle's got an ID, and we need to tell the trails basically that each particle does have an ID. So simple way of doing that is just to go into the particle solver settings, and where it says label point ID, hit that button there, and then when you rewind and play, you're not going to have that problem again. So just something to remember. So at the moment the trails are set to 16 frames. I might up that to about 35 just so they stay on a bit longer. Yeah, there we go. And they're doing their thing and they kind of look alive. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to extrude along those strands, those trails. So I'm going to lay down and extrude, and this is where you're going to need the MJCG compound, and that is an extrude strands. So we'll just plug that into there and then that into there, and the extrude is going to come with some options for us. So if I just rewind and play, we can see at the moment we've got really big thick strands and they're no good to anyone, so we're just going to do a 0.06 and the scale profile. I'm going to use a preset curve, something like that, and I'm probably going to bring it up here a bit more. Let's try that. Yeah, it kind of works. And then I might just scale the particles down a little bit, their size, so 0.7, rewind and play that. Yeah, now they're all starting to be mental. So the reason they go mental is because we've got self-collisions on, we've made smaller particles. They're now not colliding as much and reacting to the turbulence a bit more. So what we need to do is just take the turbulence down a bit. I'm going to take that down to about 20 and see if they start behaving. The naughty particles. There we go. Now they're starting to look a bit more funky. So we are actually going to go into the extrude strands. I'm just going to raise the tube sides up a bit so we get sort of slightly higher res strands. They're all good. Yep, that's looking kind of where I want it. Let's rewind and play. I think what I might do is actually up the viscosity a bit, so let's go 30, just so they're a bit more gloopy. Maybe it's going to be a personal taste thing. Near the end now, I'd probably add maybe a few more particles. Right, so we've got these, you can see like the hollow points in the tails at the moment, so we're just going to the strands, and we will actually bring that down to a value of 0. Put that at a position of 0. Oh, no, not position of 0. I want to talk about position of 1. Let's rewind and play. So I don't want to see those hollow bits on the end anymore. Okay, and then I'm probably going to stick on a resample strands node just after the trails, just to give them a little bit more sampling data. Let's go 250, wind and play. Yeah, look a bit smoother now. Okay, so now the other thing we need to do is that's only like one part of that look. Let's just hide this bad boy. It's a nice little setup actually. Bifrost here, and you got your display layers, outliner and whatnot, attribute editor. So yeah, in the example, we can see that there are these strands, which are the black ones, but on the outer of them, there's like this gel stuff, which is a volume. So what, you know, working with particles doesn't always just have to be about seeing particles. You can actually create some other kind of cool effects and just use the particles for their dynamics factor, you know, their physics factor, and then add other things to it. So what we're going to do, because we've got extrude strands, it's creating a mesh for us. So we can go mesh to volume, just type in volume, and we'll go mesh to volume, and we'll drag that into there, and we'll store the level set, need to tick that on, and then we're going to go volume to mesh. So we've created a volume out of that, and then we have to remesh it. That should make sense. Volume to mesh. So we get that back into there. So we've got our strands as well still plugged in. Okay, so we'll be able to see both. So if we rewind and play, we're starting to get a bit of a mess going on. I'm gonna guess it might be to do with the resample. No, but let's just, no, it's not. It's just a problem with the volume at the moment. It's not seeing a closed surface. Volumes need closed polygon surfaces. So let's have a look what's going on here. So we've got selected point, value of 0, value of 1, value of 0. Okay, and let's have a look, see if we need to change anything further up the line. Volume detail size, we're not using a volume. Extrude the strands. Let's have a look at the problem again. I know this from before. This problem is usually down to non-closed surfaces, but it might just be down to we haven't really got enough detail going on. So let's pull the detail down and rewind and play, see if it starts sorting itself out. No, it doesn't. We'll put that back up again then, and then let's just check the volume without the mesh. And let's just take the fog density up to sort of 50, so we can see the fog. We can see the problem is further down the line here. I haven't had this problem before, so it's kind of interesting that we're having it now. However, I do believe I did have this problem before. We don't need it to be a solid volume. We could use a shell. So let's rewind. Yeah, and that gets rid of the problem. That's the one. Always another way around it. So let's just go back to volume to mesh. Actually, we could just be getting our volume looking good before we mesh it. If we just bring that back down to about 2, let's rewind and then play. There we go. So we're starting to get like another look over the top. So I'm going to plug that volume into the volume to mesh, so that then we've got an actual mesh coming out of the other side of this, and obviously we've got our own properties on that as well. So let's rewind and play. And what I'm trying to get is kind of like a gooey gunk over the top of our other simulation. Can't see those. How many strands are there? Right, so we could use a bandwidth, detail size. I mean, let's put up to 2, so it's bigger, but smoothing up to 5. Rewind and play. It's too much. Alright, let's just leave it at 1. It's good enough, because this outer membrane is just going to have like a glass-like shader on it. Yeah, it's going to have a glass-like shader on it, but we don't really have enough detail in here, so let's stick this down to about 0.4. Should give us a hell of a lot more detail, and it'll also stop it shaking around so much. That'll give us our sort of globby look. And we can take it down further, much further, but for this I'm not going to. So the next step really is just to start chucking on some shaders, you know what I mean? So we can just chuck on a shader now. We'll just go with a standard surface shader, and we will make this, let's just start with glass really. Make this kind of glass, and if I play now you can't see it. It's not because it's not there, it's just because it's glass, so it is there. And then for the strands and all that, and the particles, could stick in a sign shader in there. Let's just give them their own little shader. Let's go assign the material, volume, standard surface, and then this one I'm going to make black. Yeah, black with some specular, but not too much specular. So if I rewind and play, then actually if we just go back to the other shader, and we'll just, while we're tweaking around, just in its transmission, we'll just pull the weight down a bit so we can see it a little bit. There we go, we can see it working now. So for the final thing I might up the particles a bit, so I might stick that up to about 8, so we get a little bit more going on. And then simply, if we quickly stick in a light, which will be a skydome light, and I'm going to grab a HDRI for that from somewhere. What happened there? There we go. We'll just, I mean, any old one will do. Just bring that in. And I don't actually want to see that in the viewport when I'm rendering, so I'm just going to go into the attribute editor, turn the camera down to 0. We'll just give that another sample, shall we? And then, oh, maybe the floor could do a shader as well. Let's stick in another Arnold standard surface, because why not? Bring the colour down, and I guess we could start looking at little render. So let's get the render view up. Get some sperm I was making earlier. Not really. Remember guys, subscribe if you're into this video at all. Hit the like button, kind of helps me a bit. I am sorry that I just haven't been about for a while, but it has been crazy. Right, so what I'm seeing there is that the glass material isn't showing up at all. So let's rewind. Probably because it didn't simulate, because I made some changes. But if I bring this in here now, you will see that as I press play, that is indeed working, and we've got globular yucky stuff happening. And yeah, that's me guys. Go ahead and, like, you know, do your own rendering, play around with all those settings. This was like a very basic, obviously I fine-tuned mine a bit, not a lot, but you know, you can swap those particles out for something else. You don't even need to see the particles if you don't want. I mean, at the moment, to be honest, we can't really see inside it that well. I did another version where I did white particles. That was kind of cool. I could just show you that quickly. And yeah, make sure you guys follow me on Twitter and whatnot. That's strangebox_LTD, because I post loads of stuff on there. But here's one I did with white kind of nastiness. And I just, you know, in After Effects, I just made this little microscopic silly thing up and whatnot. But it looks alright. It's kind of cool. A bit more time spent on it. Could be alright. So yeah, follow me on Twitter. Like, subscribe if you can. I am on the Autodesk Vision series. A bit of my work is on there tonight, apparently, on the Bifrost one, so that's cool. Watch that, and hopefully I'll be able to do another tutorial soon now that everyone's back to work. Ciao! Thank you very much. Love you. Goodbye. Adios. Where's the button?